Welcome to today's episode of Vox Lorcana. My name is Scott, also known as Psypher 1000. I will be your driver this evening. Sitting to my east and coming to you from the Lone Star Studio, we have the wonderful and talented Daniel. Hello, Daniel.
Hey, everyone.
And further to the east, filling in for Rebecca tonight as our very first guest host, we have my third cousin twice removed, the talented and wonderful Caroline. Hello, Caroline.
Hello. I learned today that joke is probably the closest we could possibly be. So,
yes.
I'm here for it.
All right. Yeah, I don't know much about my family history. Just to let people let people into the inside joke. A relative of Caroline shares a last name with me, and we're sort of from the same region. So maybe there is a relation, maybe not. And since I don't know, I'm just assuming that that's what we are, because I like Emperor's New Groove. So twice removed. Anyway,
and Lorcana means family.
Lorcana means family.
We're all family in the end,
That's
right?
We are family.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Currently, Rebecca is finishing her flight to D23, so we wish her safe travels and a happy convention. I'm only a little jealous. I don't know about you. I think Daniel said that he shared a little bit of FOMO today.
Yeah, I'm definitely. I don't really have anyone who's going to pick up the D23 collector set, so feeling a lot of FOMO right now. But I'm saving some money for some more cards.
Yeah, we were originally looking at maybe going out there for the week. I needed to be out there if it was going to be at all. It would be the week because of work, and then doing the whole stay up all night, go to D23 or wait in line, get the cards. There was a band playing out there that was also having a concert last night, so I'd go do that. And then later on, Rebecca and Jared said they're going to be hosting unofficial meetups, and I really wanted to do that. But with Gen Con, just too much. Still recovering from that. So it's unfortunate, but I'll see both of those cats in September in Vegas. Folks, this month's show is jam-packed. Later on in the show, we'll bring in our guest for this month, Enchanted Kim, and we'll go ahead and discuss, of all things, colorful hair, plus tea parties, the Love to Lore tournaments, DLC Fort Worth, set challenges, all things Lorcana with her. And if last month was the calm, then this past month was the storm, as we had a flurry of activity, all sorts of stuff to get into. We've got set championships. We had 3 Disney Lorcana challenges, if I'm not mistaken. We had Bochum, Fort Worth, and Bologna. Just recently, we had San Diego Comic-Con and the IMD boat, along with Gen Con, a little bit of Lorcana activity there. We this week have the lead up to D23. And that D23 collection we were talking about pre-show and the first printing of Oswald. And then, not last but not least, of course, we have the Shimmering Skies set debuting in 2 days.
God, I'm exhausted just talking about it. There's so much Lorcana.
It was! Yes. It's almost unfair to the month of June that July had so much. Where do we want to start? What do we want to get into first?
Well, I'd love to know from the two of you and maybe from the audience, how did set championships go this time around? I feel like it was a very different environment than the initial set championships. I feel like I saw a lot more people succeeding, a lot broader of a pool of Ursulas.
Okay. Daniel, what was your experience?
My take on that is we're seeing a lot more of the Lorcana community coming to Twitter. Right, I'm seeing a lot of new accounts being created. Where account creation date, like May 2024, or folks who maybe haven't used Lorcana or used Twitter in a really long time, but now are kind of switching their main into a Lorcana account. And so I think we're seeing a flurry of that. I think that's one. Over here in the Lorcana Fanatics household, we had a fantastic set championship, did not top 8 or top 4, but Lily played and won at Game Castle. I think there were about almost 47 players, and she got 20th place. So I think for her, that was just such a fantastic result. And she was running Lily Fassa, Ruby Amber and had a blast with it. And I think I got 11th place in that one, so just bubbled out. Had a tough, really tough one against a Steel Song aggro deck playing, and that was just hard. So in general, I think my hot take is, and I talked about this a little bit in my spaces. I just had fun. This set championship did not have the same pressure as the first one. I think also going to Chicago, Disney Lorcana Challenge just changed the vibes of what to expect. And I think for myself, feeling more comfortable with, all the different pieces that go into showing up to a competition, and also having just more peace of mind with how to handle things with Lily. So those were my overall experiences, but overall, feeling good and, ready for the next one.
I can definitely see where attending a DLC would kind of give not just experience, but perspective on what a set championship is versus that DLC. For me,
the one thing I'll note is, for any parents listening out there, if you're bringing your kids to a DLC, or if you've got a local league that does Melee for whether it's set championships or something else, Melee has an incredible feature that allows for fixed seating. And all you have to do is right before the tournament's about to begin, when everyone's been checked in, right? You can't do it before, but once everyone's been checked in, you can ask the tournament organizer or the head judge if they would be willing to do fixed seating for you and your kid. And what that allows you to do is just you're fixed, you're planted, and through all, whether it's 4, 5, 9 rounds, you don't have to move. And so I think that's just a tidbit that we learned, and actually thanks to Dana and Adam Fisher, and that's been extremely helpful in kind of reducing some of the anxiety for us.
Yeah, and not only was that in play for kids / parents, but we saw it used for folks with disabilities and just other special needs where, for whatever reason, it would benefit them to have that fixed seat. And that was wonderful to see, especially having had a father that was, for all intents and purposes, a quad for the last 20 years of his life. Seeing accommodations like that are wonderful. I'm glad they have that, and obviously have it for kids and parents as well. So that was great. That was the first time I had seen it in play, was with, or even heard of it, was in play with Dana Fisher, and then finally got a clue as to what the other tables were for at DLC Fort Worth. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes a ton of sense. I'm glad to see that. For my set championship, it was the first one I got a chance to play in. For just scheduling and other reasons, I didn't get an opportunity to play for Stitch. First one, I ended up top 8ing. I attribute that to, frankly, a lot of work with my coach. I ended up getting some coaching from Team Labyrinth prior to that, and ultimately got paired with Humble, who helps to run and build that Lily Fasa or Mufasa deck. It was one that I've been playing off and on since set 2, and it was the competitive deck I was most comfortable with, so we just focused on that. Had a great game plan going into every match other than Bucky, and the game plan there was Prey. And the green steel kind of hurts real bad against Mufasa. But what was worse, and what my actual nemesis was Lemon Lime. It was the discard / song package Under the Sea, and that just completely bricks Mufasa. I faced that in round 2 and promptly just got buried with it. I ended up going 3-1-1, and in the first round of top 8 faced it again, and I'm like, oh, it's going to be short. I tried to change tactic a little bit. It didn't matter one bit. But it was overall a great result for my first set championship. Took it into DLC Fort Worth, same thing, made my meta call, expected the Bucky deck to be about 25% of day 1. That was almost spot on. And in against the odds, I faced that deck 5 out of 9 times. Went 3 out of 10 there. So the early success did not get parlayed into later success, but still had a great time there. Caroline, did you make it to set championships? What was your experience there?
So I personally did not make it to set championships this time around. We just had a lot of things going on throughout the month of July. Pretty much every weekend there was something happening. But I do want to shout out Love to Lore, which I know we'll get to in a little bit with Kim, but the Love to Lore server as a whole took home almost 20 Ursulas.
Wow.
Which is
that's fantastic.
Pretty fantastic. We're pretty thrilled about that. That's not necessarily, you know, just the competitive team. It's all the folks that are in the server, which is, I don't know, we're getting close to 200 now, which is pretty exciting. But I mean, to have a 10% conversion rate, that's pretty cool.
What are your thoughts on I think it's Mirabelle Madrigal? Is that the next set championship?
Yes,
promo?
Mirabelle. The card is beautiful. I love the art on the set championships promo version. I do think it's not going to necessarily be as coveted as either Stitch or Ursula because it is a more niche play.
Yeah.
As a card, but I do think that the prestige of winning a set championships is not going to diminish, and it's not going to keep people from, you know, the card prize is not going to keep people from entering set championships. It's still going to be a fun competition. It's still going to be something that people, you know, train for, coach for, practice for, and you know, I'd like to have one.
Sure. Yeah, the value may not be there, but the pride is. It still represents an accomplishment.
100%. And I really like the change that they've decided to implement and give them out to the top 8 players instead of just the top 4. I think it solves a lot of the arguments that were going around about who belongs at a set championships, who should play at a set championships, and it removes the need for that conversation altogether, in my opinion.
Yeah, I did see some grousing from folks that were a little bit more on the competitive side because basically the financial motivation isn't there, and so it reduces, you know, their desire to travel you know, more than maybe 50 miles to get to one and spend, frankly, a full day, you know, someplace to try and win one with a reasonable potential that it doesn't work out. And so I did see some folks a little upset with that, but overall, I think it's a positive change. I don't have any problem with that. I think that's honestly what it should have been the entire time. And I'm glad they got there.
Yeah, me too. And it also is yet again another example of how Ravensburger is listening to the community and making adjustments based on feedback, which I think is something a lot of TCGs just don't do anymore, or maybe never did. Lorcana is my first TCG, so everything I know I'm hearing, you know, secondhand, but it sounds like that's not a common thing in the TCG space. And so to have Ravensburger doing that, I think is really encouraging.
Yeah. And in addition, they're bringing on more people. They're bringing on good people. I know recently they picked up a longtime executive at Wizards of the Coast who was let go, I believe, in December. And she ended up transitioning into a role at Ravensburger. Very well respected executive in the community. I think she was higher, like number 8 or number 10 overall in Wizards' complete history. I might have that wrong, but she's been there for a long time. And after leaving for Ravensburger to pick her up, I think that was great. Yeah, I think they continue to make changes where they can as quickly as they can, but they are methodical in their approach. We see that with Villainous and how they've grown that brand, and I wouldn't expect anything different from this one unless the revenues dictate that they can move faster, and who knows what that is. I'm sure Lorcana is doing well. Like, I have no doubt about that. But yeah, we'll see at what pace they can move and move this product and move things forward. We are about a quarter of the way show and need to get to our first payment of the bills. With Disney Lorcana Challenge schedule, summer of events, and other things like Continentals, worlds, and fan events rapidly approaching, Stairs and Illuminator at Ravensburger, we're going to find ourselves in need of fast travel across long distances to get to these events. And if you find yourself in need of air travel, consider Amherst Airlines. Amherst Airlines is a boutique travel option offering daily routes to domestic destinations such as Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, Fort Worth, Las Vegas, and Seattle. They've also recently expanded operations internationally and have flights to Toronto, Birmingham, Lille, Bochum, and Bologna. So if you find yourself disenfranchised by the major carriers, or just want to add a little lore to your Disney Lorcana trip, book your next flight with Amherst Airlines. It's the right meta call. Okay. Set championships. Where else do we want to go? What else kind of piqued your interest over the past month?
Well, I think that was a great transition into talking about all of the many places that Disney Lorcana has been over the month of July. Bochum, Fort Worth, and Bologna. We all saw really different things over the course of those challenges, even though, Ruby Amethyst won both Bochum and Fort Worth. They did so in very different fashions and in sort of different fields. Bucky took up a significant portion of both fields, but the rest of the meta definitely has shifted over the course of, the Ursula's Return format.
It really did. And when you look at the top 8 of Bochum versus Fort Worth, we had more success of the Steel Song portion of the meta go into the top 8. So that's a very evident change. And then it really pivoted in Bologna with the strong Ruby Sapphire and no Ruby Amethyst at all in the top 4. So definitely changed there. Curious on your thoughts. Were there too many events too soon? Or not too soon, but too packed together. Do we think maybe some of these should have more space in between? What are your thoughts on that?
I think most of us are probably not going to set a goal to go to every single one. Right? We're not Zach Bivens here.
Right, exactly. That's exactly what came to mind.
But I think it feels like the right amount. And again, this is just someone who's so new to TCGs, but I see quite a bit of Magic the Gathering. RCQs seem to just pop up on my thread all the time. It's like a keyword I see a lot, and so it seems like there's a pretty good range of frequency of folks qualifying for those regionals, and so I see that and kind of go, feels like it's the right pacing. But that's just my initial thoughts, and again, we're a year in, and we've had the opportunity to go to one, and unfortunately couldn't make Fort Worth. So I'm glad that there were other options. I think if Chicago hadn't worked out, I probably would be going to Toronto as a birthday present to myself, but I probably wouldn't have brought Lily with me. Right. So, Caroline, what about you? What are your thoughts? Do you feel like this is the right frequency? What are you hearing in your communities?
As far as for me, I do think it was pretty jam-packed, especially as someone who likes to stay attached to the TV all day and watch all of the Twitch coverage. That is my shtick, and so I dedicated 3 weekends to that, and it was a lot.
You did a lot of counting.
I did.
You did.
I did. So for those who don't know, for those who haven't seen, I kept track of the puns, or the Disney puns, that our casters for both Fort Worth and Bologna made over the course of the 2-day event. Rebecca, of course, was victorious at 38, which is incredible. But it was really fun to have that reason to pay attention and pay very close attention, not just to watch the games and, learn a little bit more about the different play styles of the different decks and the different ways that, matchups interact, but also just like listening to the cadence of the casters, each of their different styles. Like I feel like I've studied casting almost now after paying such close attention. But I do feel like it was a lot of time to dedicate to such a thing. So I'm not sure if I would do it again in that same frequency.
Right. Yeah, it did seem like a lot. I'm wondering if maybe it's perception influenced by the fact that set championships were going on at the same time.
Also a possibility.
Yeah. I think as a whole, I was okay with it. 3 and 4 weeks might be a little bit much. It might also be an aberration that they were just trying to get as many as possible into as short a time as possible because of when things started. Mm-hmm. Not really sure about that. We'll see what the future holds. It certainly didn't impact the competitors, one of which was Kong Pham, who ended up being our first qualifier for both the European and North American continental championships whenever those are held. He ended up getting top 8 in Bologna to secure the double. I know Bivens was there as well. It didn't quite work out for him. He ended up getting top 8 there with Ruby Sapphire as well. Went 6, 1, and 2. 14th on day 1, 6th on day 2, and getting his golden Mickey there. So congratulations to him. Kong was kind enough to chime in during our impromptu speaking session a couple of weeks ago coming out of Fort Worth, and offered his thoughts there, and appreciates that, and wish him all the best in the upcoming competitions for Continentals. What else did we have going on? Any other thoughts on the DLCs?
I'm really interested to see how Toronto goes, because it's going to be such a different situation than anything we've seen so far, because it's still the same format we've been seeing the last month of challenges, but without Bucky.
Yeah, I don't know if Knive got us the full day 1 breakdown for Bologna. Did we get those numbers yet by chance?
I do believe he has the full day 1 breakdown. We talked about it on Illuminateers the other night.
Okay.
But he had a conversion rate. He had all kinds of stats. It was really, really impressive. And I just need Knive to be the guy in the chair to do the stats segments on air, because I think he would be fantastic at it.
Yep. Yeah, he is. Sometimes you have a master of ceremonies, and he is the master of spreadsheets.
100%. He absolutely is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So here we go. I found it on his Twitter. So he has the room count for each of the decks, which is how many people were playing that deck.
Yep.
Starting on day 1, and then a room share. So percentage of the room playing that deck. How many made top 64 share. And then he and Adam Fisher, who you mentioned earlier, Dan, came up with a formula to calculate what they called a performance score. And I think that was basically taking the conversion rate. So
give us the brief lowdown on Ruby Sapphire. How did it perform there overall?
Ruby Sapphire, so there were 132 folks playing Ruby Sapphire. 9 of them converted to top 64, so it had the highest performance score of any deck in the room at a 2.01.
And was this I don't remember if this was a 1,000 or 2,000 person event?
I believe it was 2,000. It was like 1864 or something was the final player count.
Okay, so that's a surprisingly low percentage of day 1 decks, if that's the case.
Yeah, it was only about 7% of the room.
Wow. Okay. That is very interesting then. So yeah, I will be very curious to see if Ruby Sapphire makes a stronger day 1 showing in Toronto based on that. Plus the ultimate result with LA Vampire winning with that deck.
Yeah, I was actually just chatting with some Labyrinth team members on another recording session, and the their general view of Toronto is that there's going to be more Steel Song and there's going to be more Ruby Sapphire. So if you're going to Toronto, make your meta calls based on that information.
Yeah. And for this one, is Shimmering Skies going to be eligible?
No, so it will still only
soon?
be Ursula's return, but it will be Bucky-less because the errata will be in effect.
That's right, because it's got that 2-week buffer period.
Yes.
I wonder if this is going to have the feelings of Atlanta, where in the challenge, Shimmering Skies is not set legal, but it will be for attendees and those playing side events.
Mm-hmm.
I've got to wonder if Ravensburger is going to try to change that next year, if they have the ability to.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see in the second sort of season of Disney Lorcana challenges what changes they make. And that's one of the ones I've sort of got my eye on, is when sets are tournament legal.
Yep. Yeah, it wouldn't shock me that they continue to have that 2-week buffer, but I would be a little surprised if they continued to put DLCs within that 2-week buffer. I would think they would try to separate that as much as possible. Maybe not. Looks like we might have Rebecca trying to join in, but she'll be as a listener, so don't be surprised if you see her pop in, folks. I think we'll go ahead and take this opportunity to pay a few more bills. This time we are sponsored by Flurf Bats. What in the world is that? Almost anywhere you live, it's possible to find yourself dealing with a rodent problem at some point. When the time comes to defend your domicile from pesky varmints, reach for the leader in rodent reduction, Flurf Foam Bats. Here at Flurf, maker of fine foam bats, and definitely not that other foam projectile and sports equipment company, we specialize in squirrel control. Is your squirrel a bit too strong? Just hit it with a Flurf bat. Do you find that other foam deterrents just can't seem to target your quarry? Well, Flurf bats render them fully interactable. Is your rodent resorting to cheap tricks? Flurf bats are guaranteed to slow them down a beat, so why reach for any other option, especially ones with names that sound a lot like ours but absolutely aren't us and we aren't them, and please do not sue us. Just grab a Flurf bat and render your rodent problem obsolete. That, of course, being in reference to Bucky getting flurfed to the ground.
Exactly.
He's not banned. He's not banished. He's just different.
Just different.
Okay, so I think at this point we're going to go ahead and bring on our guest this evening. Our guest tonight is Enchanted Kim. On Twitter, she is enchanted_Kim99. So Kim, let's go ahead and have you take yourself off mute and say hello to the crowd.
Hi, thanks for having me on today.
Absolutely. Been looking forward to this for quite a bit. Originally, I was very interested in getting to talk to you about your tea party, and I absolutely want that to happen. But last night, you just casually dropped a picture of one of your clients' hair made to reflect the art of Archimedes' Enchanted card from set 5. Just like, yeah, no big deal. Just freaking awesome artwork, and it's absolutely fire. So that's where we're going to start, because I can't let it go. How did you get started with making clients' hair resemble their favorite Lorcana cards? How did that come to be?
Okay, so this is just like a humble brag, but I'm a professional hairstylist and I own a salon, and I've been doing hair content creation for years now. Like, I would say I've been doing content creating for 5 years. Like, I have brand ambassadorships and like I've been published in magazines, all that stuff. And like, I'm known for doing like extreme vivid color hair transformations, and getting into Lorcana recently and just being so excited about it. And like, clients always want to know what I'm doing because I'm with them for like 5 or 6 hours sometimes. So you know, they'll be like, oh, so like, what have you been up to? And I'm like, I've been playing, you know, this game called Lorcana, and like, let me show you how cool the cards are. And, you know, they start to get into it. And so recently I had one of my models scheduled a few days ago, and she's a big Lorcana player. And I was like, you know what? Like, I saw this artwork for Archimedes, and like the colors are just so pretty and it's giving me such inspiration. Like, I need to do this on your hair. And she was like, I'm totally down. And that was that. I was like, okay, cool. Like, this is gonna be fun to post later.
And fun it was. I mean, it's not just the colors. You've got like gold sparklies, and it's so shiny. It's absolutely incredible. If you haven't seen it, it's the pinned. We pinned a tweet on the Vox Lorcana Twitter feed. So go and check that out. Go and check out Kim's Twitter feed as well. You're going to see more. And she also has stuff posted on Instagram and TikTok as well. We'll get to that here in a little bit. Is there a card that you've seen that you want to try to mimic but haven't had the chance to yet?
Yeah, I really want to do kind of like the Naveen Enchanted card. I feel like that one also too has a lot of really cool colors, and like the vibes are really cool. So I would do something that's like very blue based instead of purple, and then have a lot more like gold streaks, and maybe, you know, more gold and pink like sparklies in there too. Um Otherwise, and there's been some really cool like Ursula themed cards that would be really fun to have, like a, you know, teal, blue, green, purple, like aquatic vibe. But I'm hoping Lorcana just keeps coming out with more, you know, really colorful cards, because those are just my favorite to create hair looks inspired by.
Yeah, I don't think we have to worry about Lorcana art going any less hard than it has been. They just keep pumping out some amazing images, and the artists just continue to bring it at every set. We were talking earlier in a different Discord channel, and I'd said I was going to call for this, and I wasn't kidding. Ravensburger, if you're listening, I'm dead serious about this. I having seen that hair and seeing some of the looks that we've had on different cards recently, the Mother Gothel in set 5, and the Belle with her blue dress, and fabulous Mufasa kind of adorned in the roses. And don't forget Hey Hey, because that our boy from set 2 with his magnificent wings. Gaze upon his magnificent plumage, folks. There are some very incredible looks out there, and I think we've got enough between cosplayers in the community, obviously our hair artist here, that we could do a Lorcana runway show. I would love to see that as a fan event. I think that would be incredible if we did that at one of the Continentals or World Championships. I want to make that happen, and maybe it's too soon to make it this year, but if we can make that a thing.
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
It needs to be a thing, and I want Enchanted Kim to be one of the hair artists for that, because she clearly has a knack for it.
Fashion show. Fashion show.
Yeah, and I don't know squat about fashion. Like but I want to see that. I want to see that.
Amen to that.
So one thing I was a little disappointed that there wasn't more coverage on was at the Japan Expo in mid-July. There was a Lorcana cosplay competition, right, a contest, and we get to see an incredible Anna Knight cosplay by Anne Leela. But I think, you know, that gave me a lot of hope, because I think that was I believe that was a you know, a formal Disney Lorcana competition hosted by Ravensburger. So there's hope.
Yeah, I saw that cosplay. It was absolutely incredible. I have followed that cosplayer on both Twitter and Instagram because she does incredible work. I am not sure if it was an official event, but if it was, very excited about that, because we need cosplay contests at like DLCs and Gen Con and D23 and all of the things.
Sorry about that. So now that we know where your hair talents lie, let's go ahead and get into the tea party that happened. At this point, it's been over a month now, right? It's been a little while.
Yeah, it was the last weekend of June.
What was the impetus for that, and how did you go about pulling that off?
So what started it was um Pixelborn had shut down, and I had kind of panicked because I was like, oh, I need it started off almost as a selfish reason where I was like, I need more friends to play with. I need more friends to play Lorcana with, to like practice, especially because I wasn't going to in-person league as much. And so with that site going down, I just kind of panicked. And, card games like Lorcana is my first ever TCG. And even then, going to my first league was really intimidating because it was primarily male dominated, which like they were all super kind, but it's still, it's just very intimidating to go into as a marginalized gender. And then, I started to see online that a lot of other people of marginalized gender, specifically like women that I'm friends with, were posting, on TikTok and Instagram that they were also kind of like slightly panicking of like, oh, like I want to go to my league, but like I'm just so scared and nervous. And so then it kind of sparked this idea where it's like, oh, well, what if I created a meetup, at least like a small one locally, where, I can put it on Facebook where it could be just a bunch of ladies getting together to like meet each other. And I threw the idea on Facebook and it ended up kind of blowing up where people from all over, because I'm in Washington, people all over Washington and then like Oregon and Canada were like, hey, like if you do this event, like I'd love to go. And it's like, I love throwing parties. And so I was like, well, what if we just make this a formal like tea party event? And one of my like favorite local game stores reached out and they're known for throwing really good Lorcana release events. They were like, hey, like if you want to throw this like at our space, like we'll gladly host and, provide the space for it and, help each other out. Because they have a lot more experience like throwing more formal events, versus I have a lot more experience throwing like parties, like birthday parties and whatnot. And so I was like, sure, like let's combine forces and ended up blowing up and we had about 40 people show up. And it was great. And I did it specifically at the end of June as well because I wanted to encourage people to get to know each other before set champion season started. And it worked out because when I went to a set champs the following weekend, there were people there from the tea party who were like, I've never been to a set championships before, but I had such a great time at the tea party that I felt, like I felt encouraged and comfortable knowing that like some new friends that I made at this tea party are going to be at the set championships. Um, and so that was just super amazing.
Were people showing up to the tea party in cosplay? Did you have like tea sandwiches? What did you do to make that party happen? Like what were some of the details there?
Yeah, for sure. So I also came out with a guide as well, which is posted on my Twitter and my Instagram of like if someone's interested in throwing their guide or throwing their own party. But basically, I went into everything that I did to throw this party. And so, we had food. I created this sheet that is also in the guide that people can just like print out themselves. That was um it was called a quest for tickets. So basically I offered tickets because we had prizes to raffle out. And this made it where I encouraged people to first off like play games with each other, because the goal of this event too was that you were trying to meet people. It wasn't so much a tournament where you were trying to like win prizes. So it's like, oh, for each like one versus one game or for each multiplayer game, you got a certain amount of tickets. And then there were also um, on this list like things that were like if you came to the party in like your favorite in like your princess attire, your favorite Disney gear, like that got you more tickets as well. So like majority of people that came to the party were dressed up. And I also had like on there, if you brought a theme deck, because I feel like more often than not at tournaments, like you don't really get the opportunity to bring a theme deck. And so I was like, oh, this is your chance. Like bring your princess theme deck, your Mickey and Friends theme deck. So yeah, overall it was pretty fun and just really encouraged people to just like have fun and not really worry about like if you do well or not playing against someone.
I remain convinced that social gaming is successful gaming. And it's not to say that everything has to be social or everything has to be competitive, but this is just another example of not everything has to be cutthroat or tournament structured for it to be a success and bring people into the game. And it sounds like uh, you had a great turnout for it.
Yeah, it was wonderful and it was great to hear too, like at another set championship that I went to towards the end of the month. Like a dad had brought his two daughters who like because he was super into Lorcana or he is super into Lorcana and his daughters are really into Disney and they're like on the younger side, like, 8 and 10. And it was really sweet that like throughout the set championship I would hear him telling people, and he told this to me too personally, like when he saw me, was that it was really great too to like bring his daughters to that event because then like they've never played before, but he brought like starter decks with him so that they could like play with people. And afterwards he was like, now like my daughters want to play all the time and like go to our leagues. And I was like, that is so sweet.
That's fabulous. Is this something you think could scale for like, I don't know, for something like a set championship side, not a set championship, a Disney Lorcana Challenge side event, like something that you would do socially, like on the Friday before, maybe? Obviously, it's very different asking you to plan something for like 1,000 people versus 40.
For sure. I definitely have ideas out there and I've talked to the store owner where, like Seattle Challenge is happening and that's, in my home turf. And I definitely have thrown the idea out there with a couple content creators where it's like, oh, like if I threw like a DLC pre-party, because a lot of the content creators especially have been like, I want to go to a tea party. And it's like, well, if a lot of you go to Seattle Challenge, could I try to plan a big, tea party or, some sort of like social event, that Friday night? Um, but if Ravensburger wants to partner with me to like get behind planning more of these social events as like a side event sort of deal, like I am totally down to do that.
I mean, I would go.
Yeah.
I'd pay some money to go to that side event. That sounds like fun. I'd bring my big floofy ball gowns.
Right. And I think that was the appeal too, is like how many times as an adult, and this was like a common thing that people talked about at the party was like, how many times as an adult do you get a chance to, wear a big princess gown and your tiara and, have a tea party. So I think too that was like a big draw for why the event was successful.
Yeah, I have a lot of dresses from, years past. I was a competitive ballroom dancer in another lifetime. And I have a lot of dresses just like hanging in my closet, sad that I will probably never get an opportunity to wear again. That I would absolutely pull out for an event like that.
For sure, yeah.
What would you say has been the most unexpected or surprising thing that has spawned from the Tea Party experience?
Most unexpected, I think I would say was just like how like I didn't realize personally how much it was needed in the community, especially like in a local scale. Like I kind of felt like originally like, oh, like this is me being selfish because like I wanted to make more friends. But then realizing like, oh, this is something that so many other people wanted, and to have people say like, oh, like I'm so glad I have this comfortable space to go into, because we had so many like new players who like this was their first time ever going to an in-person Lorcana event. And so for them to be like, oh, like I really needed this because like I was so scared to go to a league or a set champs because, I don't want to like be embarrassed if I don't do well. So I think that that just caught me off guard of like, oh, like this was something that was really needed. And I'm glad that like I provided that space and, providing that guide so that people all over, the country and the world potentially could throw their own Princess Tea Party to provide that space for their local community as well.
So when we post this on YouTube, we'll go ahead and post a link to that in the description. Where can people find you and your content, Kim?
Yeah, so I'm Enchanted_Kim on Twitter or X, I guess, Instagram, and TikTok.
Okay. And on that note, we had talked about some of Kim's hair art earlier. Tonight we have our first actual advertisement. This is not paid. It's just that something that I wanted to make sure we promoted her hair salon. Now that you've seen an example or two of Enchanted Kim's work, if you take a look at her Instagram or TikTok, or if you take a look at the pinned tweet at Vox Lorcana, why don't you take the next step in having her become your fairy godmother and transform your hair? Check out her salon, Kim's Hair Design, in Tacoma, Washington, specializing in hair coloring and styling. Kim's Hair Design is a perfect place to book an appointment to look your most charming, especially before going to Disney Lorcana Challenge Seattle. She'll use special ink to make your hair glimmer. To make an appointment, reach out to her via direct message at Kims_hairdesign_ on either Instagram or TikTok. Again, that is Kims_hairdesign_ on both Instagram and TikTok. And that brings us to our final segment of the show, and that means we'll throw it open to our callers and listeners here. So, folks listening, if you have any questions for Kim, any comments on the show or anything we've discussed, just go ahead and throw up a hand. We'll get you promoted to a speaker and let you experience the show. Here we go. In the meantime, talk about, if you would, the recent Love to Lore tournament. What was your experience with that? How many people participated? How did you go about that? And really, what was the intent behind it? What was Love to Lore trying to accomplish with that?
So Love to Lore really wanted to have some online events happening, just to bring our community closer, especially like to get our competitive team or just.
Oh, sorry. I think everybody got put on mute. There we go.
Oh, okay.
There we go. Yep, you're good.
Awesome. Yeah, so Love to Lore just really wanted to host online events to help our Discord just feel a lot more bonded, especially trying to get more of those online games going. And so Caroline, Sarah, and I just went ahead and started to like really plan out organizing a tournament, which definitely had some learning curves, trying to like use new software and like, making sure like we explain all the rules correctly. But overall ended up being a great success, and it sounds like everyone on our Discord is excited for all our future tournaments.
Good. I think we've got Sprinkle of Ink wanting to ask a question here. Are you there?
Yeah, so it's Ellie, but I just wanted to publicly thank Enchanted Kim and Caroline and Sarah for the events that have been put on in the Love to Lore community, and just the environment they bring overall, especially Kim with a passion of continuing to have the events, because I think it's something, as y'all pointed out, that the space is really it's kind of new to a TCG. I've been around TCGs for a really long time, and like, of course, there's Friday Night Magic, which is supposed to be the get together and play with your friends type of thing. But I really feel like they're encompassing a way to do it that just feels organic and feels warm, and like, even being in the competitive event, at no point did I feel like the same stress that I had at set championships or at challenge. It was just this like great day of playing Lorcana with friends and with people that we have bonded it through this Discord. And so just wanted to like publicly thank the group for all of that.
You love to
Thank
hear it.
you.
Oh, Ellie, that was so sweet.
Yeah. I'm really glad that we've been able to build this space and that we have the resources as we come together to run events like this. And I think I think we really sort of got the impetus from Real Play Network closing down, because between Pixelborn and then Real Play Network also closing sort of, one season into their noble mission of providing a place for folks to play online with webcam, there weren't a whole lot of other options, especially for, casual unranked play. And so we all put our heads together and said, you know, we have game rooms here, people play test here all the time. Why not organize events here? And the first tournament went off without a hitch. I think the plan is to do them monthly from now on, as long as, we have the time and the resources to do so. We're also going to be hosting our first social event this coming weekend. We're going to be doing sort of a group pack opening and then split off into pairs and do some pack rush games to celebrate Shimmering Skies release. So we're pretty excited to continue the momentum.
For Pack Rush, are you going? How do you like to play? That everything is inkable, or do you follow normal ink rules?
So the current plan is that everything is inkable. We may need to review things between now and Saturday to decide one way or the other, but that is the current plan, is that everything is inkable.
Yeah, I know that's what happened at Fort Worth. I think that's the more enjoyable way to play. I suspect it's the more balanced way to play, only because if you get a deck, or not a deck, a pack or two that's heavy on inkables, you're just kind of hosed from the get-go. So I like the everything is inkable version, kind of the way it started. But I can see there's a place for both. As I always say, if you're playing with a friend or a group of friends and you're all having fun, then however you're playing, you're probably playing the right way.
Yeah, there's a little bit of house rules when it comes to formats other than constructed right now.
Sure. Kim, what was your experience at Fort Worth? Was that your first challenge? And how did you? What were your results like?
Yeah, so DLC Fort Worth was my first ever challenge. And I want to say too, like, Love to Lore was great because I already kind of had like a group of people that I could meet at DLC. So that was super nice to be like, okay, like I, can go into this challenge, because I basically went to this challenge essentially by myself. Like my boyfriend that I went with, he was working the event, so it was just me on my own that day. And so it was really nice to see that, like, oh, okay, I can like talk to Sarah, or Ellie was there too. Missy Enchanted was there. A couple other members from Love to Lore were also there, and so it was just great to be able to, like, in between rounds, go and talk to them, and felt just a lot more comfortable, and we were all just super supportive of each other too in between rounds. And I thought it was amazing that all of us that had competed, we all got in the top 50%. So
Nice.
that was awesome. It was really funny though. I ended up playing one of my rounds against Ellie. And it was a pretty tough mirror match, but they were really great games.
Oh, I didn't realize I got taken off of
That's
mute.
okay.
But no, yeah, I felt so bad because it was actually a decider game as well that we ended up playing against each other. So it was kind of, as someone who's played competitive prior, I had that moment where as for lack of a better word, a friend. I see Kim as a friend now, especially after challenge and spending so much time together, that I had to be like, we're going to leave this however it happens, because we can't guarantee each other anything. We both needed to go 2-0 and 1-1. So I was like, and we still have 2 more matches. So if we went 1-1 together right now, we then have to go 2-0. And so I think we just play it out, because we're not guaranteeing both of us something. And Kim, in really, really close, just incredible games, won both games, like and I shook her hand. It was like that was some of the best mirror match playing I've had, and you earned that 2-0, and don't ever feel bad about the fact that you get the 30 points and I don't. Like, because it was just incredible to be across the table from a teammate and be like, everything we practiced, it worked, and it just happened to be in your favor that day. And that's something that I think just the Lorcana community in general I've seen, is that when we do see even the best players like Bivens and RMB not make the final cut or not make it as far as they do, they're just as excited about the people who do make it. And so from even us newer competitive people to the super competitive players, there's just this general aura of like everyone's excited that somebody won.
Yeah, and for anybody that was at Fort Worth, you got to see, I think, the entire Team Labyrinth, maybe not, but certainly quite a few of them there, truly enjoying each other's company, enjoying each other's successes, and celebrating those successes. It's a pleasure to see that kind of camaraderie, and they're supporting others besides themselves as well. It's like it didn't matter if they had a Labyrinth jersey or not; they were celebrating people's success, and it's wonderful to see. Once again, we've got a member of Team Labyrinth in the audience. We certainly appreciate the support there. But yeah, it's cool to see that. And something like A Love to Lore gives you the opportunity to experience a certain measure of that. Like Kim was saying, you get to support each other in between rounds. You have familiar faces. From everything I've heard from the women in the Lorcana community, whether it's the Tea Party, whether it's Love to Lore, whether it's the women's roundtables, when you create these spaces for women to speak their mind and share with one another, they've said that it's helpful to have these spaces specifically for women or for marginalized genders, people who may sometimes question why they're necessary. We're hearing the benefits of those spaces consistently. I love the fact, Kim, that you brought up. People said they felt more comfortable and confident going to a set championship because of the Tea Party that you hosted. I love hearing reports that you felt a little bit more at ease at the set championship because you had the support of your Love to Lore community. The benefits are tangible, even as someone sitting outside and cheering for y'all. I'm glad that you have that space. I don't think it's deniable that those spaces are positive and helpful to the community, and I hope that they continue to thrive.
Yeah, and we really appreciate support from folks like you, Scott, and Dan, in that, y'all recognize the need and the benefit of spaces like this and advocate for us in, spaces at large. It's something that not a whole lot of male dominated communities, I think, would do. And the fact that Love to Lore has been so quickly embraced and well received by so much of the Lorcana community, I think, is a testament to the health of the community and the game as a whole.
Yep. Looking forward to when y'all got that merch shop opened up.
We are working on that actually tomorrow.
Awesome.
So
that's awesome.
Soon, we hope.
Kim, one more question for you on that Tea Party here. So now that you've gone through that, you've seen the response, you've put out kind of the guide on how to host one. Is there anything that you would do differently, change, additive, whatever the case may be, when the time comes for you to host another one?
Honestly, not really. I thought it was such a huge success. I think logistically, the only thing I would change was that for this first ever Tea Party, I had it be free. And so it was a lot of expenses out of pocket, which I didn't mind. Like, it was definitely such a big passion project for me. So going forward, it's like, and this was something that was suggested by people who attended the Tea Party, where they were like, you should charge for this because, like, you provided us food and product. And so there'll probably just be like a $5 to $10 charge later to just help cover those food costs in the future. And I advised like in my tea party guide that like if someone were to throw this event, like to figure out your expenses and charge accordingly. But otherwise, I feel like the only thing I would change is just trying to advertise and make it even bigger for next time, which I do have another tea party planned for the end of September.
All right. Looking forward to see how that goes. Do we have any last questions or comments from our co-hosts or community?
I also wanted to talk a little bit about the Love to Lore tournament, if that's okay. I just remembered something.
I am sure. I'm more than willing to keep going as long as folks want to be.
Yeah. So I just remembered that. So during the tournament, one of my jobs was recording content, and I would hop into a lot of games. And something that I found really wholesome was just how, as the games were ending, everyone was so kind to each other. Like it was just so much positivity. Like whether someone lost or won, they were just like, "Those were amazing games. Your deck was super fun. I had such a great time." And that was just really great to see in our Discord community that like no one was really upset with anyone or being a sore loser. And so that was just so wholesome and great to see.
Did you?
And
Go ahead.
I will say, if anyone had a right to be a sore loser in the end, it was Ellie, because the tiebreaker for her not making top 4 was like
Oh my gosh,
0.25 on
yeah.
strength of schedule, and I felt so bad because it was hers up until we reported the last result of the last match, and then it flip-flopped between her and the other person she was tied with. She was a very great sport about it, and I commend her for that.
And that's very in keeping with how she treated the Fort Worth Challenge as well. What was the meta like for that tournament? Did you see people running more fun decks, meta decks? What did you see?
It was both, right, Caroline? It was, I mean, our top 4 was very diverse.
Yeah, it was definitely a little bit of both. I think as a team, we're a little bit heavier on Steel Song, just because that is a deck that people have sort of gravitated toward. Kim is one of our local Steel Song experts. But I also think that it was an opportunity for folks to just sort of play something fun that they wanted to play. So our top 4, we had 4 different decks. We had a Steel Song deck that won, but second place was a Ruby Emerald deck, played actually by one of my locals here in Virginia, Confetti of the Instagram duo Chaosy Confetti. If you want to go follow them, they are fantastic, and Stephanie is just a super creative deck brewer. She apparently took that to a set championships, the last one held here in our area, and almost made top 4 with it.
Spicy. I like it. It honestly sounds like it was a great time. Love to hear that people enjoyed that, and that they felt comfortable playing what they wanted to play. It sounds like if you had that diverse of a top 4 and you were seeing some maybe off meta decks, that sounds like it was a good fun time.
Yeah, the rest of our top 4 was filled out by Lauren Kana, who's our team captain. She played Ruby Sapphire, and then we had an Amethyst Steel deck as well. So it was a pretty wild time.
And we have a highlight reel coming pretty soon. I just need to finish editing of, some gameplay footage from that tournament as well.
Where is that going to be posted?
It'll be posted on all the Love to Lore social media. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all that fun stuff.
And of course, you'll see all of us Love to Lore folks reposting it as well.
Looking forward to that.
I also just wanted to shout out real quick. I know the lead up to D23 is happening this week, and Ravensburger has been doing some really fun community events in the Anaheim area. They're not here tonight, but Katie from Lore Keepers Inn and Kevin of Lorcana Goons both got to help out and teach newcomers to the game at a event in the packing district last night hosted by Christina Ariel and Ravensburger. And I think it's super cool that Ravensburger is having content creators, members of the actual community, not just their own employees, come join them at these events to teach more people, to bring more people into the game.
It's a great call out. You had the one at the packing facility. You also had the one at the Anaheim Angels baseball game.
Yes, they were just handing out packs there, I think, rather than playing games. But I heard the turnout there was also incredible.
I fully agree. Ravensburger, once again, if you're listening, please do more of that. While yes, I'm saying that somewhat selfishly, in that that's kind of the space that I live in, the demo and event space when it comes to games, and I've been doing that for the past 20 years. So I'd love the opportunity to do that. Have the event will travel, regardless of if I'm part of the team or not. I want them to do more of that. I want them to bring more people like that in to facilitate some of those events and be part of that. I think Meta Potion was part of that as well. I think there was a third one that got asked. But yes, they were great inclusions. I'm glad they got the opportunity, and I just want to see more of that, whether it's at these somewhat smaller events or whether it's at conventions, wherever the case may be. You've already got people in the community, whether it's content creators or just community members at large, that are displaying passion for the game already. They're already kind of invested. They're bought in. As long as they can display an element of professionalism while teaching the game, and joy while teaching the game, then let's bring those folks in. Let's harness that joy and that enthusiasm, because it's infectious. So I'm happy they got to do it. I want to see more of it.
Yeah, and I mean, also, what great representatives of our community to have been able to choose. Like those folks I know are just, we know that they represent both the game of Lorcana as well as the community that has built around Lorcana very, very well.
Yeah, I don't think on short notice, especially, you couldn't have landed a better group of people. So I was glad that they were there to represent well. Looks like it went well, and I just hope that it continues to spawn more more opportunities for things like that, for more inclusion of community members. I know a lot of other game companies do it. Obviously, Ravensburger is not a lot of other game companies. They have their own way of doing things, and that's fine. But yeah, I'm hoping that they kind of expand that. I don't know if that's part of the ambassador program, so to speak, or if there's going to be a different program. But whatever direction they go, I want to see that proliferate for sure.
Yeah, one thing I'd just love to add here, I think we are in, a year in, right? Happy anniversary, right, Lorcana.
Yes.
And it's exciting to think about and obviously reflect on everything we've gotten to experience up to this point. I'm feeling like we're going to see all gas, no brakes, right? Coming from, the marketing team. And I think that's exciting to just see. I think having the gateway product out as a really accessible on-ramp. I think Katie posted that, it was a lot of folks sharing. This just felt like a more approachable way to the game. The physical board, it's a board, right? And it's great to see that. I also noticed that they use that same kind of board playmat, and in China Joy, right, in China. And so again, I think Ravensburger globally is really leaning on Gateway as a mechanism to onboard and on-ramp new players. I think it's fantastic. Again, I think having Gen Con just roll around. I posted earlier today that I host, I kind of run a semi-weekly coaching session to teach anyone who wants to stop by how to play Lorcana. And someone new came today, and they came because they were at Gen Con. They love board games. They were, played Magic over 10 plus years ago, actually maybe 20 years ago. And they were at Gen Con and picked up a starter deck and kind of poked around a little bit. They were not there for Lorcana. They were there for their love of other games, other tabletop formats. And just when they came back to Austin, they searched online and found my session and showed up. And that was just incredible. And so I was able to, more than just about talk about the game, connect them to Discord servers. So invited them to, our local Austin servers, pointed them to Love to Lore. They obviously were really excited about that. And so Caroline and Kim, be on the lookout. I think they just joined hopefully this afternoon.
I think they are already there, and we're already having conversations about their favorite movie and building a deck around that, which coincidentally is the same as mine. It's The Great Mouse Detective. So
exactly. Yeah. So I just want to call that out because I think that's something that I'm really passionate about from both a family parent perspective. Is it's really hard as an individual to generate enough excitement, whether it's in my local community, to jump into something brand new, especially when, let's be honest, right? Cars are a hobby. They are a luxury, or they can be a luxury, right? Especially if you're a collector. But when you have the strength and the power of Ravensburger and Disney behind it, I think D23 this week is just going to hopefully just ignite the flame for even more Disney lovers who are going to start getting to this game. So I think the future feels really bright. I just wanted to end on that note from my side.
Yeah. A while ago, they said starting at set 5, we would start to see some new or different marketing engagements that we hadn't previously seen. I'm wondering if this run up to D23 is part of that, because I don't think we've seen events like this or giveaways like this before this week. I know they mentioned that the commercial they had running on the IMD boat at San Diego Comic-Con was one of those engagements, and so we may see more of that in the future. For being a year old, I don't know if any of you listened to Citizens of Lorcana interview with Steve Warner a few weeks ago. He said that it didn't really sink into him that the game was a hit, that they had a success on their hands until Gen Con last year. And that's when it was like, oh, this is a thing. Like this is bona fide a thing. And from that moment, I don't know if catch up is the right word, but I think they've been going as quickly as they can to try and catch up to the passion and the demand from the community for Lorcana, and not just physical product, but for events, for engagement and outreach. Any way that we can engage with this game and the world of Lorcana and the lore of that, I think they're seeing a passion for, and they're doing their best to rise to that occasion and to meet the demand of that passion that we have. And that's a good problem to have, right? Like it's, maybe they were a little bit behind the 8 ball, but regardless, you'd rather have that than the opposite problem of nobody caring at all. That passion doesn't seem to have diminished. Yes, we've had some folks maybe bow out of content creation, but I don't know that they're bowing out of the game altogether. They're just engaging with it differently. So to see the continued passion, I think if I'm a betting man, and because I open packs, I'm absolutely a betting man. I would say that we're going to see more and more things like this. That would be my guess. And that the community engagement is just going to continue to ramp up. We already know that there's going to be fan events coming. They've got a fan events coordinator or manager, or whatever the official title is. So we know they're coming. Just need to get some details on that, please. Really waiting for those details, please. Ravensburger, please. Yeah, we need some details. But yeah, excited for what the future holds for that. We're pretty past time here. Anything else you want to dive into?
No, I think that about covers it. Thank y'all for having me tonight.
Thank you. No, that was fantastic.
Yeah. Loved having you.
Yeah, absolutely. One more time for the people at home. Where can they find you and your content again?
Of course. I am Lorcana Bell here on Twitter. I am at lorcana.bell on Instagram. You can find me adminning a couple of different Discord communities. I am playing games every day on Illumintier Station, the Discord server for the Illumintiers. I'm also on their Monday night show, Let's Talk Lorcana, as the Quiz Master. And then, of course, as we've talked about at length, I am the community admin and on the strategy team for Love to Lore.
And Kim, for yourself, one more time, where can people find you on socials?
Thanks for having me. You can find me on Enchanted_Kim on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok, where I try to bring the fashion, lifestyle, and event going to Lorcana. And then I'm on the Love to Lore event organizing and social media team.
Okay. Well, folks, on behalf of guest Enchanted Kim, guest host Caroline over to the east, host Rebecca all the way up in the air. Well, actually, I think she's on the ground now. And Daniel, soon to be on his way on a plane tomorrow. Thank you for joining the show and tuning into this episode of Vox Lorcana. And as always, remember, Lorcana means family. Thanks, folks.